Address of the Holy Father to the Clergy of the Diocese of Rome. This took place in the Audience Hall on Thursday, June 12, 2025. I want to ask for a big round of applause for all of you who are here and for all the priests and deacons of Rome. Dear priests and deacons who provide your service in the Diocese of Rome, dear seminarians, I greet all of you with affection and friendship. I thank His Eminence, the Cardinal Vicar, for the words of greeting and for his presentation telling something of your presence in the city. I wish to meet you, to get to know you personally, and to begin walking with you. I thank you for your life given in the service of the kingdom, for your daily labors, for your great generosity in the exercise of your ministry, for everything you live in silence that is at times accompanied by suffering or misunderstanding. You carry out different services, but you're all precious in the eyes of God and the fulfillment of His plan. The Diocese of Rome presides in charity and communion, and can fulfill this mission thanks to each one of you, in the bond of grace with the bishop, and in the fruitful responsibility of all God's people. Ours is a truly particular diocese because many priests from various parts of the world, especially in order to study, come here. And this implies that pastoral care too, I'm thinking above all of the parishes, is marked by this universality and the mutual acceptance it entails. Starting precisely from this universal outlook that Rome offers, I would like to share cordially with you a few reflections. The first note that is particularly close to my heart is that of unity and communion. In the so-called priestly prayer, as we know, Jesus asked the Father that His people may be one. There he's referencing John 17, verses 20 to 23. The Lord knows well that only by being joined to Him and united among ourselves can we bear fruit and give credible witness to the world. Presbyteral communion here in Rome is favored by the fact that by ancient tradition, it is customary to live together in rectories as well as in colleges or other residences. The presbyter is called to be the man of communion because he's the first to live it and continually nourishes it. We know that this communion today is hindered by a cultural climate that favors isolation or self-absorption. None of us is exempt from these pitfalls that threaten the solidity of our spiritual life and the strength of our ministry. But we must be vigilant because, in addition to the cultural context, communion and fraternity among us also encounter some obstacles that are, so to speak, internal, which relate to the ecclesial life of the diocese and our personal relationships and also what resides in the heart, especially that feeling of weariness that arises because we've experienced particular hardships, because we do not feel we are understood and heard, or for other reasons. I would like to help you, to walk with you, so that each person may regain serenity in his own ministry. But it's precisely for this reason that I ask you for zeal in priestly fraternity, which has its roots in a solid spiritual life, in the encounter with the Lord and in listening to His word. Nourished by this length, we are able to have relationships of friendship, outdoing one another in respect. There he's referencing Romans 12:10. We feel the need for others in order to grow and to foster the same ecclesial drive. Communion should also be translated into commitment in this diocese, with diverse charisms, with different paths of formation, and even with different services, but the effort to sustain it must be one. I ask all of you to pay attention to the pastoral journey of this church, which is local, but because of who leads it, is also universal. Walking together is always a guarantee of fidelity to the gospel. Together and in harmony, striving to enrich the church with one's own charism, yet having at heart the single body of which Christ is the head. The second note I want to give you is that of exemplarity. On the occasion of the priestly ordinations on May 31st last, in the homily I recall the importance of the transparency of life, on the basis of the words of St. Paul, who said to the elders of Ephesus, quote, "You yourselves know how I lived among you," end quote, and that's Acts 20, verse 18. I ask you, with the heart of a father and of a pastor, let us all undertake to be credible and exemplary priests. We're aware of the limits of our nature, and the Lord knows us in depth. But we have received an extraordinary grace. We have been entrusted with a precious treasure, of which we are the ministers, the servants. And fidelity is required of the servant. None of us is exempt from the suggestions of the world and the city, with its thousands of offerings, could even draw us away from the desire for a holy life, inducing a leveling down in which the profound values of being a priest are lost. Let yourselves be drawn once again by the call of the Master to fill and live the love of the first hour, that which drove you to make important choices and courageous sacrifices. If together we try to be exemplary in a humble life, then we will be able to express the renewing force of the gospel for every man and woman and for every woman. A final note I wish to give you is that of looking at the challenges of our time from a prophetic perspective. We're concerned and saddened by everything that happens every day in the world. We're hurt by the violence that generates death. We're challenged by inequalities, poverty, many forms of social marginalization, the widespread suffering that assumes the features of an unease that no longer spares anyone. And these are not distant realities far from us, but rather they affect even our city of Rome, marked by multiple forms of poverty and grave emergencies such as the issue of housing. A city in which, as Pope Francis remarked, the great beauty and charm of art must also be matched by, quote, a simple decorum and the normal functioning of places and situations in ordinary everyday life, because a city that is more livable for its citizens is also welcoming to everyone, end quote. And that's from Pope Francis's homily for Vespers with Te Deum on December 31st, 2023. The Lord wanted us in this time filled with challenges that at times seems to exceed our strength. We are called to embrace these challenges, to interpret them evangelically, to experience them as opportunities to bear witness. And let us not flee from them. Pastoral commitment like that of study become for us a school to learn how to build the kingdom of God in today's complex and challenging history. In recent times, we have the example of holy priests who have been able to combine a passion for history with the proclamation of the gospel, such as Don Primo Mazzolari and Don Lorenzo Milani, prophets of peace and justice. And here in Rome, we've had Don Luigi di Liegro, who, faced with so much poverty, devoted his life to seeking ways of justice and human advancement. Let us draw on the strength of these examples to continue sowing seeds of holiness in our city. Dear friends, I assure you of my closeness, my affection, and my readiness to walk with you. Let us entrust our priestly life to the Lord and ask Him to be able to grow in unity, exemplarity, and prophetic commitment to serve our time. May we be accompanied by the heartfelt appeal of St. Augustine, who said, quote, love this church, be ye in this holy church, be you this church. Love the good shepherd, the spouse so fair, who deceiveth no one, who desireth no one to perish. Pray too for the scattered sheep, that they too may come, they too may acknowledge him, they too may love him, that there may be one flock and one shepherd. And that's from, end quote, from Augustine's Sermon 138. Thank you.